I saw my last now, so that meant it's time to begin. This is the chicken. The chicken. The chicken. Okay, it's a couple triangles, but we're calling it the chicken. Yeah, so I saw my last now. Earlier today, I was working on this again. I won't bother. I won't bother turning on the. Well, maybe I will. Whoops. Yeah, so that didn't work at all. Pretty much a complete failure. I spent, for me, a wicked lot of time on it for being a complete failure. So I'll spend a wicked lot of time on the next thing, which will succeed or fail. I may cut off this bottom. Whoops. Uh-oh. I don't know which way this goes. I'm gonna say it goes this way. I hope so. If not, I guess I could cut it and flip it, but yeah, I may cut off this bottom layer. That will reduce the weight some, and I might have to plastic this top layer. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. That's what it takes. It's kind of like when in the movie The Aviator, Howard Hughes, Leo, cuts off the bifold wing. Who says we need it? I want it aesthetically, but I guess the plastic makes it ugly enough where it is no longer aesthetic anyway. Except for crudely, so crude mechanics. I know that's not what they meant, but that's the best I can do. So I'll do that. Working more on this. Which has to do with this. and this. And this. So what it's supposed to be, I call it the chicken because it had the yellow, it had the beak, and this was just something I had handy which I could put together to keep these 2 points together, because the way I made it they don't want to stay together. But the whole idea is how this triangle, let's see, how would I do it? How this folds down, and how this folds down, till they're both flat. These pieces, which if you hold it right, these 2 pieces can look like a circle, kind of, or an ellipse, even though they're not. But those are separated each into 24 sections, while this circle and the circles I traced from them are separated into this, so I can make a model for as I turn this 1 step. There's 48 steps all the way around, and I'm only looking for 12 of them because I'm only looking to turn 90 degrees. But for each 1 step I make this way, I make 2 steps this way, so I have all my steps demarked here. And then what I can do is trace that straight down to where it hits on the plot, and as I turn the object, and then turn its sides down, I'll end up with what I'm looking for in a flat plot a little more correctly than I've been able to do with just 2 dimensions. So that will inform my opinion, my ration. That'll inform my ration, even though it won't be very perfect at all, but it'll put me in the right way of thinking, or help me condense on to the right way of thinking, which I can't figure out otherwise. That's the hope. There was supposed to be more to this story. Yeah, there was supposed to be more to this story, but I'm just not feeling the flow. I wanted to talk about leprechauns again. What else? I wanted to talk about this triangle and how I exist more or less here, or maybe I aspire toward here, but really I exist here in some kind of oscillation. Even if I exist here, it's in some kind of oscillation. But let's say I exist here in the huge hierarchy of everything. That's it's a huge place, right? If I existed here, my whole point would be to exist is to come here. That movement of here to here represents this triangle turning into a circle. Because what was here moves to the center. Everything pulls up and around. That's what we need to do. Because right now we have all these triangles, really a lot more like this. And this little piece keeps trying to reach up. But as it reaches up, this part falls down. So then you end up with this. But because it's disconnected, this part falls back down. Just like a water drop. So what needs to happen, and what has been made to happen, which is why all this silly talk isn't silly at all. It's the most important thing in the world, is that we start taking some of the responsibility and the burden of thought and trying to do things with our hands. And between thinking and doing, we down here have a lot more to do. And I'm not talking about the normal way they speak about the pyramid. I'm talking about the real one. Because the normal way they talk about the pyramid is like this. But it's really like this and like this. And the real top is up here somewhere. And all this doesn't even get seen. Because everybody's just looking at this pyramid. With no top. Well, the reason why there's no top there is because the top's up here. And no one can see this whole thing. And we're just focusing right here, so to speak. Now, there are those here who think they're doing what this is doing, which is what this is doing. Reaching. It's trying to pull us. But it can't hold us as we let go. But if we held on, the whole thing pulls up. And then everybody can go up 2 steps and grow 1 size bigger, and go up 2 steps and grow 1 size bigger, and go up 2 steps and grow 1 size bigger. But pulling up us kind of pretty well at the bottom of this well, there is no circle now, it's just the pyramid. If here's the ground, right? Never mind what's underground. Trying to stick to one metaphor. So if all the people here in the triangle learn a little more, do a little more, learn a little more, do a little more, personally, interpersonally, intrapersonally, spirit to spirit, soul to soul, if we learn a little more, about each other, about ourselves, if we learn a little more and do a little more and share a little more and just creep from here to here, if all the people here went to here and pushed this point here to the new center and pulled this entire triangle up so that, this point over here is now up here. And this point over here is now up here. Whereas right now, if you're right here, you're so far on the end in the extreme that even if you're in, if this is the lowest triangle, well, the two lateral triangles, they're only hierarchical from this point forward. If you're down here on the upper buffers, then you could be here, and if I'm here or here, well, quote unquote, I'm above you, or here. And it's not that everything need be the center, but the center must hold, as they say, because right now our circle's here. When it could fill this whole shape up. And that's kind of where we're at. So that's what the chicken's about. Yeah, this is still on. Oh boy, I better remember to... Yeah, I better remember to shut that off. And as far as the leprechauns go, people believe in aliens and angels and all this, and nobody talks about leprechauns, who could represent a lot of things. There are legends of little peoples, and there are histories of them, of thems, of different little peoples' histories. Now extrapolate that to leprechauns. And extrapolate that to the little pudgy children that cherubs were painted as in the Renaissance. And keep going. If you can make some connections there, you're onto something. Though I guess I'll warn you of the perils, which I still suffer greatly, which is making sense of something that has been hidden and made to not make sense, but it was done in such a way so that someday it could make sense. And that's one of the things we're at the birth of. That's one of the pieces of the apocalypse or revelation. Is not just what's out there, but what's right here. Amidst us. In your path, at your feet, in your face, day to day. That you can't see. That I can't see, that we can't see. But the goal is that we will be able to see. The thing is, it's so shocking that it just about kills you when you start even getting an inkling of it. So the work for us there at the bottom kind of, but not the bottom, in a privileged, stable place, kind of in the middle. Now, we may oscillate all over that triangle in the way we think, even if we more or less specifically occupy a certain place within that triangle. Our thoughts may bounce all over it, but our random distribution will have a probabilistic center. And that's more or less where we're at. People say, I'm not a statistic. We're a perfect set of statistics that statistics done don't perfectly yet represent, at least not in the public sphere, even at the highest of echelons. In the private sphere and in the intelligence and in the intelligence of intelligence communities, they got that shit more nailed down than you got you nailed down and I got me nailed down. And some of them been nailed down. So that's why at the tippity top, they're working for everybody, including us at the bottom and including those who are well below us. Everybody. And it's a Herculean effort. Think about meeting intelligent life. Think about colonizing Mars. And it's good that we think about those things. But we need to think of the seemingly impossible task of lifting every person up and doing something about it. What I'm trying to do, I kind of have a plan that maybe if I live another 30-ish years, if I spend the next 20 years trying to learn, I can come up with some way of talking or some way of doing, or maybe I'll learn some that I'll be able to contribute something. So I spend all my free time on it, in a way, when I'm not raging in my mind, which is a lot, because learning truths it's so shocking that it's just so unbelievable. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And anybody who's just all about how great everything is, so long as there are canines this long, it's iffy. The largest bat is the flying fox, and it's a vegetarian, and it's got big old fangs. I don't know what that says about what big fangs mean and about evolution. Though I've already drawn conclusions. But anyway, glad I made this little picture. It's kind of my favorite part of the day. It was accidentally looking the way it looks, but the mythos always finds its way into the logos. And reason always finds its way into the story. Thank goodness.